Money FM 89.3, the best of the afternoon update. Eco Money on Money FM 89.3.
Comply or explain. That's what the SGX Singapore Exchange says to listed companies when it comes to sustainability reporting. We've seen a huge push on the ESG and sustainability front for companies across all sectors. To find out what this means and what companies need to know when it comes to sustainability reporting, we're joined on the line now by Mr. Koh Wee Kwang, who is from the Institute of Singapore Chartered Accountants. He's a council member and member of the Sustainability and Climate Change Council, as well as director at Creston AC APAC. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Rachel. Thank you for the introduction.
So Singapore has made it a requirement for listed companies to issue a sustainability report, which must include, among other things, material ESG factors. It's a framework, targets, and performance. What does this mean for a firm, though, when it comes to accounting practices?
Well, this means a few things, right? First of all, this means that the accounting function now needs to integrate ESG factors into their business objective and financial reporting. Now, while sustainability reporting and financial reporting are different, they share some synergies, right? Material non-financial issues in sustainability report can have a financial impact. And investors want information on how company financials are affected by these sustainability issues. Now, for example, climate change may impact the assessment of indication of impairment and estimation of value in use. Other areas such as inventories, properties, plant and equipment, and financial instrument may also be affected, right? And companies will also need to consider how sustainability issues affect their financial statements and disclosure. Now, as far as we know, more than 70% of the listed companies that represent some of the largest carbon polluters are not fully reporting for climate-related risks in the financial statements, right? This is despite the significant financial risks arising from climate crises and net zero pledges made by the different companies, right? And to bridge this gap, therefore, right, accounting practice must be enhanced to consider how sustainability issues can affect the financial statements and disclosure. Now, MAS and SGX, right, have indicated that they will monitor developments on the International Sustainability Standard Board, which is ISSB, sustainability disclosure standards, right? So we expect these standards to feature prominently in the reporting requirement in the future.
That's right. And Mr. Koh, I just want to rewind a little bit, because earlier this year, the International Sustainability Standards Board, as you mentioned, the ISSB, wrapped up a public consultation on 2 exposure drafts. The first related to the disclosure of sustainability-related financial information, and the other on climate-related disclosures. By the end of the year, the ISSB is expected to release the new disclosure standards under the widely adopted International Financial Reporting Standards Accounting Framework. That's a real mouthful there. Looking at it from a listed company's perspective and from an accounting perspective as well, what do we need to do to help upskill our accounting professionals to keep them up to date with some of the changes that we're seeing happening in the industry? Because there are so many regulations, so many frameworks. Things seem to be moving at such a rapid clip. What do they need to know?
Now, there's a few things that we can do, right? First of all, accountants traditionally actually focus solely on FRS, right, which is the financial reporting standards that accountants are all familiar with. Now, the modern accountant should look at FRS from a wider perspective, right? F now stands for financial reporting, and this is my own acronyms, right? F for financial reporting, R for risk management, and S for sustainability reporting. So my recommendation is financial reporting serve as the rear mirror, while risk management serve as the GPS, allowing sustainability to take the driver's seat, now leading the drive of carbon emission to net zero by the middle of this century. Now, the few things that accountants could do is the accountant should get themselves familiarized with the major reporting standards and framework that are pertinent within the jurisdiction. Right, in Singapore, two notable standards are the TCFD, which stands for Task Force for Climate-Related Financial Disclosure. Right, recommendations, and the ISSB, which are expected to release S1 and S2 next year. So the key requirements of the major sustainability reporting standards are usually aligned with the stakeholder expectation after robust public consultation. So as such, right, accountant can identify areas that are important to the stakeholders, right, such as the risks and opportunities under the S1 and S2, right, and bear in mind that we are departing from the traditional financial reporting standards. We are now looking at scenario analysis, right, to project more into the future, right? So they should think about how these areas affect their work. For instance, data collection, forecasting, and target setting.
Mr. Koh, that said, as the accountants look to upskill themselves in this area and familiarize themselves with these different frameworks and governing bodies when it comes to climate change, many of them may be looking to perhaps upskill their qualifications to stand out when it comes to climate change and climate risk, or to ensure that they're on the right track when it comes to climate reporting and ESG. There are so many new courses out there on the market. I mean, you just have to take a look and take a Google. There's a multitude of them. How do you know it's the right one to take? What should they be looking at, or what should finance professionals be looking at? I mean, I'm taking a course at the moment for climate risk management.
Key is really to understand, I think the gap is really around climate science, right? While accountants have the knowledge of the numbers, right? But just looking at the final numbers, right? Or the disclosure, such as greenhouse emission, it might not be meaningful. Right, and a basic understanding of climate science is therefore very useful, right? And this can help accountants to participate more meaningfully in climate actions by their firm. So, in terms of continuing professional developments, accountants can leverage on ISCA continuing professional education offerings and knowledge resources to stay updated, right? For example, to help companies to adopt TCFD recommendation, ISCA issued Volume 1 of the Climate Disclosure Guide with the support from SGX, right? This guide is useful for Singapore listed companies, right, which are required to meet SGX requirement for climate reporting. Board of directors, right, who need to meet the enhanced SGX ruling on sustainability training can also sign up for the Sustainability E-Training for the Directors Program offered by ISCA, right? And as mentioned earlier, ISCA is also developing certification program on sustainability reporting to address the knowledge gap, particularly in climate science. This is expected to be launched next year.
We've been speaking with Mr. Koh Wee Kwong, who is from the Institute of Singapore Chartered Accountants. He is a council member there and member of the Sustainability and Climate Change Committee. He's also a director at Creston ACA PAC. You are listening to Money FM 89.3.
To listen to more great interviews, download our podcasts at moneyfm893.sg or download our audio app. That's AWEDIO. Available on Google Play or the App Store.